typically with TibFibs, they are a longer bone in the body. So in this case, Lucas, you can see already that he has very long TibFibs. So most likely we'll have to do this either from corner to corner on the cassette, or we'll have to do it in 2 series, but we won't know until we try. So first, what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna have Lucas raise his leg up so I can fit my board under. And then the one thing to note about these cassettes is that there are white markings on the board, and these white markings basically represent the field of view. Everything within the white markings we will see in our image. Everything outside of the white markings we won't see the image. So keep that in mind when we're doing TibFibs, because we need to see the joints from one end to the other. And typically people tend to cut off one of the joints. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start at the distal end, so basically where his ankles are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lift his leg up so that it's as close as possible to the corner. So you typically on the lateral malleolus, it is a little bit longer. You can't see it by looking at the anatomy, so that is something you just have to remember. And so with TibFibs, we also get a little bit more leeway. There isn't a restricted SID. We can bring the tube or the table as high or as low as long as we are able to fit the TibFib in. So I generally start with centering on the mid shaft, but like I said, in this case, because Lucas is longer, we most likely will have to do him in 2 series, because I have his ankle here, but his knee is off the board, so I already know that we're gonna do this in 2. So because of that, we want to make sure that we get the distal end first. So from here, even though it's not in the center, like I said, we're going to do this in 2 series. So we're going to get the distal first, put our marker on the lateral aspect, then we're going to run back and shoot that. Then we will need to do the proximal end. So I'm going to have Lucas lift his leg up. I'm going to put the board under him some more in order to fit his knee in there. And then I'm going to move the tube up. We don't need all of the knee. Basically where the joint is, which is usually about where the apex is where we'll need to go. But if you want to be safe, definitely include an inch or 2 above the apex. And same thing, we're going to open up our collimation to make sure we include everything. Make sure that his foot is in the AP position. And then we're going to shoot that. And we have to make sure that there's overlap. And for our next lateral version,
sorry, just one thing to add. When you're doing TibFibs, you want to maximize your SID as much as you can. So you want to raise the tube up and then bring this table all the way down, okay? So even though Lucas is pretty tall, he will fit in one cassette because you don't need the whole knee, right? You just need that knee joint, which is where his patella is, right? So you just kind of adjust it like this and make sure he's covered like this. Oftentimes most people miss the ankle, so I like to bring this down, center it first, and then bring it all the way up to where you need it to be. And then just open your collimation, top and bottom, and then you should get all of it, but sometimes you have to turn the key in order to open up that field size to where you need it to be, okay? And you can tell right here, open it up right here, he will fit. Because you see his knee right here, and you see his ankle joint right here. So as long as you put the corners in line with his knee and his ankle, you will get it. Okay, so one side to side, bring it over. And then remember dorsiflex. So point your feet back, good, like that. So always just kind of look for the shadow to make sure you got the ankle part. Okay?
Okay, for our next one, we're going to do the lateral TibFib. So what we're going to have to do is, I'm going to have Lucas bend his knee. Well, roll on your side and then bend your knee. First, we're going to have him roll on his side. And then, once he's in the position, I'm going to have him bring his right leg over, and we're going to slide the board under. So same thing, typically with this, a lot of times we tend to miss the lateral malleolus. So what I like to do is I like to take a look, see that he's all on there, make sure that his knee is there, and his ankle is there. It is. I'm gonna turn collimator and position mid-shaft, and then collimate as needed. Then we should be able to capture the TibFib from the top to the bottom.